Hey there, fans of Comic Land, it's Leila here from the Comic Connection with this week's comic book reviews. First up, Terminator 1984 #1 by Zach Whedon and Andy McDonald. Taking place during and after the events of the first film, Whedon expands on the early Terminator universe. Kyle is not the only resistant member to travel back in time. Ben has followed him to protect him, to save his last love, Paige, and possibly change the future. So this is full of familiar events from the first film and fantastic new story elements. It had great art and story. It was a real page turner. If you are a Terminator fan, you are not going to be disappointed by this. Make sure you go and pick it up. Next up, we've got Valkyrie, one shot by Brian J.L. Glass and Phil Winslade. Taking place between the events of Avengers Disassembled and Secret Invasion, we are witness to the events that brought about the return of Brunhilde, the Valkyrie. So this one's written for you Secret Avengers fans. There's some background info that will lead you into issue number 6. It was only okay for me, though. It had great art and layouts, but the story didn't have enough depth for me. And maybe because this is just a lead into, a different book, maybe that's why. But for me, it wasn't that satisfying. Next up, we've got Lady Death Premiere Boundless. This is a free offering from Brian Polito, Mike Wolfer, and Marcello Mueller. And in this one, Lady Death and her realm are attacked by a foe who seems to know a lot about her. Will she be able to survive the assault? This is very effective. In a short number of pages, it's a gripping story. The art's beautiful in spots, though a little inconsistent in certain panels. So it's a great free preview of upcoming events for Lady Death. And if you're a Lady Death fan, I don't see you being disappointed in this one. And last but not least, we've got Stuff of Legend Volume 2, The Jungle #2 by Mike Rake, Brian Smith, and Charles Paul Wilson III. In this one, the toys continue to fight the boogeyman's forces, but they're beginning to become weak. There's more backstory about how the boy and his neglected toys were dragged into the dark, and Percy betrays the group once again. I gotta say, I love this series. If you haven't picked it up so far because you thought it was just a children's book, don't think that way. It is really awesome. It has a lot of fantasy elements, and it seems to be aimed towards kids, but it has a lot of darker themes. The art style is just really great and well done. The only downsides to it being that it doesn't come out on a really regular schedule and that it's an awkward size for storage. But other than that, I really love this series, and I can't wait for the next issue. That's it for this week, gang, and we'll
Good to go.
Hey folks, Jim here with this week's comic reviews. I'm on vacation on a nice, luscious beach. Or is it a sauna room? I'll never tell. Anyway, first up we have Mighty Tiny, The Lost Tales, written and drawn by Ben Dunn, Pat Duke, Fred Patton, and Roz Gibson. And in this one, it is the time after man, and mice and rats have evolved into intelligent creatures and built great civilizations, but war now consumes them and threatens both sides with extinction. Now, if you're a fan of Ben Dunn's work, like I am, because I get to work with him and he's a friend, but if you're a fan of this stuff, you're going to love it. This stuff has not been reprinted in almost 25 years. So if you want to see it for the first time, be a new generation of fan, check this book out. It's simply wonderful, and I'm not just saying that because I released the book either.
I'm not just a member of the Comic Book Club for Men. I'm also a client.
Exactly. And next up we have Dawn, Not to Touch the Earth, written and drawn by Joe Linsner. And in this one, the fairy queen Dawn tempts New Yorker Darian Ahsoka into the fairy realm to save her from a demonic manifestation. And when Darian wishes to return to his realm, Dawn gives him a caveat. His feet are not to touch the earth. As always with most Dawn stories, the art is simply gorgeous, while the storyline is a little subpar in parts, but still quite enjoyable. If you're a fan of Linsner's stories like Dark Ivory or Dawn, you're going to really enjoy this book. It's simply gorgeous to look at. Story-wise, it's a little weak, but you're still going to enjoy it. We'll see you next week.
Well, apparently Jim felt bad about making me review Italia. Like, literally, I'm still brushing my brain out from reading that. So let me read Next Gen Warz. Wait, hang on. This thing has 2 covers, and that one's the better one. Anyways, Next Gen Warz is pretty. The art is actually luscious and gorgeous and fantastic. But with that aside, it's not very well written. It's based on the chronicles of the next-gen war between PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and later the Wii. The problem is, this is a joke that was topical about 2 years ago when the next-gen war started. And now the next-gen war's kind of ended with each each system kind of carving out a niche in the video game industry. But that's a moot point. This guy, Brian Kennard apparently decided to strike while the iron is in storage and write a comic book about it. All of the jokes you could already have read on Penny Arcade with VG Cats. The only change here is the girls are sexier. So really, if you just kind of want to read it for the cute girls, I strongly recommend it. If you want a topical, witty story, you probably should read something else. That's a bum. A really good bum.